What I tell you? Didn't I tell you? What I tell you? Didn't I tell you? And the new IBF welterweight champion of the world, Errol Spence Jr., brings that belt back to the U.S., and it is a beautiful thing. First and foremost, let me congratulate both fighters for putting on a terrific fight. This was an epic fight. This was a terrific fight. It was everything that it was built up to be. It was a war between two top-notch competitors. Errol Spence, the truth, the guy who was known as being virtually unproven, stepping into the ring with Kell Brook, the IBF champion of the world, the guy who was also somewhat virtually unproven to me. And this was something I always mentioned in my videos, but to a lot of people, he was somewhat proven. He did have a legitimate win over Sean Porter, versus Kell Brook, okay? And like I said, it was everything it was built up to be and more, okay? These guys, to me, gave everything that they could give in this fight. And they put on the show. They put on one hell of a goddamn show, okay? So with that out the window, all right, let me talk about a few things before I actually go into the actual fight, okay? First, let me talk about the UK fans. God damn, the UK fans... Man, if I was a fighter, I ain't gonna lie, I would probably like switch identities and like move over and like try to adopt a British accent, and you know what I mean, and fake like I was from there. The UK fans are just so supportive of their fighters. They go ham, man. They go ham. Every single punch that Kell Brook landed, they would scream, they would cheer. The UK fans willed Kell Brook back from being knocked out on a few occasions, in my opinion, okay? They were just there. They were in effect. They were, man, goddamn. All right, you know, if you a fighter, man, I would probably fake my identity. I'd probably get me a UK passport. I'd probably be filing for citizenship right now. The UK fans are really a force to be reckoned with, you know, and it really is an advantage for any UK fighter fighting over in the UK. It really is, okay? Not like us American fans, shit. We just want to see a good fight. Anybody that get knocked the fuck out, we gonna be like, ooh, shit, like, you know. So that's, you know, just shouts out to the UK boxing fans. You guys are true boxing fans, and I love it. I love it. I love it. It makes the entire event that much more exciting to watch. So shouts out to y'all for all that, okay? All right, the next thing I want to mention, okay? Let's talk about some of the issues that Kell Brook faced going into the fight, okay? Before we actually go into the actual fight, okay? The eye, okay? He had the eye problem. Okay, the eye was a thing that he had hurt in the Triple G fight. Triple G hurt him in that eye, and he had to have surgery to get that eye repaired in order to fight. Okay, then there was the weight drain. I remember mentioning the weight drain in my prediction video that Triple G was going to have, Kell Brook was going to have some problems because he had to suck down all this weight all the way back down to 147 because his last fight was at 160 versus Triple G. Okay, so I mentioned that. And then I also mentioned that that his last fight was a stoppage loss to Triple G. In my prediction video, I explained that this would be an issue going into this fight. And to me, there was no doubt that there's no doubt to me that the weight was a problem. There's no doubt to me that the eye was a problem. There's no doubt to me that that last stoppage loss was somewhat, I'm gonna say somewhat of a problem, because Kell Brook showed a lot more heart than I thought he would coming off of a loss. So I'm gonna say that didn't play as big a role as I thought it would. But I do think it did play a role. Okay, I do think that Kell Brook developed an affinity to getting hit. Okay, like in that Triple G fight, he was a lot slicker, man. He was a lot slicker. He was moving out of the way of a lot more of those shots and using his head movement and those sorts of things a lot more. In this fight, he didn't move his head nowhere near as much. I don't know if it's because he didn't respect Errol Spence's power as much, or I don't know what it was, but he was not slick in this fight, okay? He was very straightforward. He got hit whenever Errol Spence felt like hitting him for the most part. And, that was that was Kell Brook in a nutshell. So I really do think that those things played a role in the fight, all right, overall, okay? Another thing that I want to mention going into this is Errol Spence's defense, okay? His defense is not like a Mayweather defense or anything like that. It's not perfect. But Errol Spence does the little things necessary in order to avoid being hurt, like really hurt. You know what I mean? Now, mind you, he got hurt a few times in this fight. Don't get me wrong, okay? But he does those little things. First of all, he has a chin, okay? He does have a chin. That was definitely confirmed in this fight because Errol Spence caught at least a few of those chocolate brownies. And I hate to say chocolate brownies, but shit, whatever. Let me humor y'all with your bullshit. But Errol Spence caught a few of those chocolate brownies, and you could tell that it hurt him, on a few different occasions. So, don't get me wrong. It's not that his defense is perfect, but he would do little things here and there to avoid big shots from Kell Brook. All right. And those little things, in my opinion, kept Errol Spence in the fight and kept him away from danger. To me, this was the kind of fight that really could have resulted in either one of them being knocked out, because every single punch that was thrown had knockout written all over it. Okay? So it was like Errol Spence, Kell Brook. To me, it was like rolling the dice every time somebody threw a punch. So, all right, so that pretty much was that, okay? All right, now, the stoppage. That's the other thing I want to mention here. Now, the stoppage, to me, was just what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a stoppage. I didn't think that it was going to be a stone cold knockout, because to me, Kell Brook showed in the Triple G fight that he has a hell of a chin, and you're not going to just knock him stone cold out for the most part. Okay, he's going to be able to endure those hard shots. He's going to be able to walk through them. Well, not really walk through them, but survive through them. I'll say it like that. And this fight was no different. He survived a lot of hellish shots from Errol Spence, okay, and kept it moving, okay. So, shouts out to Kell Brook for that. I mean, but I knew it wasn't going to be a stone cold knockout, you know what I mean? So I knew that it was going to be the kind of situation where Kell Brook either decided to stop the fight himself, his trainer stop it, or the referee stop it, okay? And this fight was kind of what that was. The referee and Kell Brook stopping the fight. He took a lot of punishment, okay? And, I'm definitely not mad at the stoppage, no matter who decided to stop it, okay? All right, so those are the things I wanted to address. I got another thing that I want to, another thing I'll mention after I talk about the fight. But let me go ahead into the fight, okay? Now, let's talk about the fight in general. Now, the first round of this fight, okay, it started out with Kell Brook being very aggressive, very fast, and throwing some combinations, okay? In spots, okay? He was very fast and very strong with that jab coming out of the gate, okay? And they didn't really take a lot of time to feel each other out. Kell Brook came out, he started throwing some of those jabs. He caught Errol Spence flush at least a few good times throughout the entirety of the first few rounds. In the first few rounds, Errol Spence looked also very uncomfortable. I thought that the ambiance of the UK crowd really got to him. I mean, he came into the ring getting booed. He came into the ring, people telling him "fuck you" and all this shit. I heard like you can hear it in the broadcast. Some of the people in the stands were really talking shit. So, it really went that way. I think in the first few rounds, Errol Spence, felt that. He felt the presence of the UK fans in him, and it kind of stalled him for a second there. Not only that, but Errol Spence was on, I believe it was a 9-month layoff. So I think that played a role in him being a little off in the first few rounds too. Not only that, but I think that Errol Spence I think in general, he takes a little bit of time to get started. So he's somewhat of a slow starter anyway. All right. So those things all bundled together kind of led to Kell Brook kind of gaining the advantage in the first few rounds. Okay. So that's what happened there. So Kell Brook gains the advantage, okay, in the first few rounds. But little by little, you can see Errol Spence kind of working his way back into the fight. Okay, he's landing those crucial body shots here and there and everywhere, and you can see Kell Brook becoming more and more affected by it. Okay, he started slowing down. He was moving a lot less. He went from kind of circling Errol Spence to kind of staying in one spot. Okay, and then all of a sudden you see he's breathing hard. Okay, and then he goes from breathing hard to dropping his hands. Okay, which is another thing. Okay, those body blows, okay, they cause you to drop your hands. You're dropping your hands for two different reasons. You're dropping your hands because you're tired and it's hard for you to hold your hands up, and you're dropping your hands because your body is now in a position where you're thinking about blocking body shots. Okay, so when those shots start coming up top, okay, it's all kind of problems, and that's exactly what happened. Later on into the fight, Errol Spence starts moving the attack from the body up to the head. Kell Brook starts getting caught a lot more flush with his hands down, as opposed to how Kell Brook was catching Errol Spence, because he was catching him in some of those rounds. For the most part, Kell Brook would catch Errol Spence with his hands up. Okay, his hands would be up. They'll be in a position where he's kind of blocking the shots and kind of, that sort of thing. He would get caught with some shots few and far between, but certainly not the amount of times that Kell Brook would get caught. Kell Brook would get caught with little combinations, little 2 and 3 and 4 punch combinations by Errol Spence at different times during the fight, and that was definitely the result of fatigue on Kell Brook's part, and also him thinking about body shots. Okay, so this pretty much led into all the way into the 11th round, where Kell Brook is now gotten hit. First of all, let's mention the stoppage. Not the stoppage, but the knockdown in the 10th round, or Errol Spence starts putting some of those punches together and finally catches Kell Brook in the corner, and Kell Brook takes a knee to the ground, because at this point now he's taken a lot of damage and has now had a picture in his mind about him getting flattened now. Okay, he's now thought about him possibly getting knocked out cold, and the best thing for him to do now at that point is to take a knee, which was a good decision on his part, because that showed his experience. Okay, it's better for you to take a knee when you're getting hit like that than to keep taking those shots and end up on your back. So he takes a knee, which is cool. Okay, so he gets back up and he starts fighting crazy, fighting good. He fights back. He shows the heart of a champion. Okay, fast forward 11th round. 11th round, a lot of the same thing. Kell Brook gets caught in another corner. He gets caught up in another position, because even though he showed the heart of a champion in the last round, Errol Spence was not cool with that. Errol Spence was like, we gonna get this. Nah, it ain't going down like that. And Errol Spence makes another push. He changed that gear on him. Okay, and it's back in Errol Spence's favor. And then of course, Kell Brook had taken enough, and the stoppage is in effect. Okay, so once again, congratulations to Errol Spence for becoming the new IBF welterweight champion of the world. One thing I want to know in the comment section from the people: do you think that Kell Brook should have gone out on the shield? Do you think that he should have fought until he dropped? I'm curious to know what the people think about that. I'm actually indifferent about that. If you're taking that much punishment and it's clear that you can't fight back to the capacity that you might like, I'm not mad at him taking a knee and saying, you know what, I've had enough, rather than going out on his shield. But I know a lot of people are like, nah, you need to fight and go out on your shield. I know those type of people are out there. You know what I mean? I'm a little bit of both. So I don't really know. I can see both sides. All right. But let me know what y'all think about that. Hit that up in the comment section below. And then the other thing that I want to mention too in this fight, there's a lot of things to talk about in this fight. So Kell Brook, after being, having the eye injury, because I guess the stoppage was a result of an eye injury, an important thing to note is that the eye that got hurt wasn't the same eye that got hurt in the Triple G fight. Okay? It wasn't the same eye. This is a different eye. Okay? So this is legit. Okay? So for anybody who's thinking that they want to come up with the excuse that Kell Brook had a reoccurring injury come back in this fight, you can't say that. His eye got hurt by Errol Spence. Okay? So, I just wanted to note that, put that all in here and all that, that kind of thing. I really do think that Kell Brook fighting Triple G was really the worst decision he's ever made. I think that was the worst decision ever. I really do. That was a horrible decision. I don't know who the fuck's idea. I can see, all right, the money, I can see it. All right, I get it. There was a lot of money on the table. I understand. But why would you sacrifice your career for some instant gratification money? Okay, the long haul money that Kell Brook could have made had he not taken that fight, to me, would have been much better. I think that if Kell Brook hadn't have taken that Triple G fight, I think he possibly would have won this fight. I think he possibly would have won. I think so. Because the first part of the fight, Kell Brook was doing extremely well. But clearly, to me, he got fatigued before those body shots. He got fatigued because of all those body shots he took by Errol Spence. But that, coupled with the weight issue, him having to lose 35 pounds in order to make weight, I'm pretty sure that contributed to his fatigue in those later rounds. Had he had more stamina, had he not done that Triple G bullshit, then maybe he would have had a little bit more left in the tank in order to finish. Okay? So, if that Triple G fight was to me the biggest mistake. That was a horrible decision by Kell Brook. He can still bounce back after this. I mean, there's still a lot for him to do. The guy, I think, is 31 or something. So if he still wants to fight, he can fight. And there's still a lot of people out there for him to fight. He could give Sean Porter a rematch at this point. He could fight Danny Garcia. He could fight a lot of people he can fight out there still. He can work his way back up in this position. He could even call for the rematch if he wants it. I don't think he wants the rematch, though. I think Kell Brook, his pride was hurt in this fight. Looking at his face after the fight, he looked like a defeated man. He really did. I know he was disappointed because he didn't want to lose in front of his fans and that sort of thing. But he looked mentally and physically defeated after this fight. Okay, so I don't know, man. I really don't know. I mean, shit. I really don't know. And another thing I want to mention after this, and this is some funny shit. Did y'all see when Eddie Hearn decided he wanted to mention the Khan versus Brook fight? Everybody booed his ass. Everybody in the crowd booed his ass. Why would the fans want to pay money to see two motherfuckers that just got stopped? You know what I'm saying? Like, in their last fight. Eddie Hearn want to break up that fight. This dude's shameless, man. He's shameless to the point where it's funny. Eddie Hearn, man. Hey. But you know what? Much respect to the man, though, man. You know what? Yeah, but all in all, man, this was a terrific fight. It was a good night for boxing. This was good for boxing. It was great, man. It was terrific. Much respect to Kell Brook. And again, congratulations to Errol Spence on becoming the IBF welterweight champion of the world. Hit it up in the comment section below. If not, you can hit me up on Twitter, Box capital X or capital X Die. You can hit me up on Facebook, Box -sign or -sign Die. Like the video, subscribe, all that bullshit. But until next time, it's your boy D Dynamite signing out. Holla at your motherfucking boy.